All right, I think now it's time, so we can get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar about virtual races. We're really excited that you could join. We actually had participants from 10 different countries that registered, so that's really exciting, and thanks for joining. So I figured we could present ourselves a little bit. My name is Fanny, and here next to me I have Max Andersson, and we both are colleagues at RaceID, and we're both enthusiastic swim runners and endurance athletes as well. And then we have our guest Marcus Andersson, that is right here, waving there. And he is a sports marketing expert and also race director for AIM Challenge, which is a big adventure race in Sweden and Norway. And he's recently also known for the creation of the biggest virtual race in Sweden this year, which is Coronamilen, which we will talk more about later. So I'll just go through the agenda for the day. So I will just speak shortly to give you an introduction about virtual races. And after that, I will hand over to Max that will interview Marcus about Coronamilen, the virtual race. And after that, we will have a short question and answers session. So you can ask all your questions to Marcus, and of course, me and Max also, if you want. So while you listen, you can use the chat function. That is, if you check in the upper right corner at the bottom, you see chat. So there you can write in your questions, and we will answer them after the interview as soon as we get a chance. So I think that was all. And so let's get started. I will share my screen a little bit. 1 second. There we go. All right. So, what is really a virtual race then? I know some of you are already experienced virtual race organizers, and some might be new to this. So I'll just give a quick background about it. It all started with the coronavirus spreading across the world in the beginning of this year, which of course changed the everyday life of every athlete and also the near future for all endurance races in the world. And while this is of course very sad to see, it has also forced us all in the sports business to get creative. And from this, the phenomenon of virtual racing started to take off. So, and also just for you to know that don't know, in Sweden, the restrictions under Corona has allowed people to actually go out and exercise individually throughout the whole pandemic. And this particular situation also made it possible for virtual racing to develop quickly in Sweden because of that. But in essence, virtual racing is a way you can still race just without gathering people in one place. And it could be that you simply race by yourself wherever you want, or the possibility to race on a specific course by appointment during a longer time period. It could be done for charity or to help an organization, or really anything that you can think of. And you can offer medals and prizes, or simply just a fun experience where people get to be part of something. And you can also make it a hardcore competition, of course. And we at RaceID, we're really excited to play a small part of this journey. And it's been really fun to follow organizers from all over the world come up with new ideas for virtual races. And that also makes the athletes motivated, and so that everyone can get some kind of challenge in these difficult times. So that was just a short intro. So I will hand it over now to Max and Marcus, so you can listen to a real example and one of the most successful virtual race stories to date, and get inspired. So I'll stop sharing here, and let's see, so you can see us again. And I think, Max, you have some questions for Marcus already.
Of course. Thank you very much, Fanny. A great introduction. And hello, everyone. As Fanny said, I'm a colleague to Fanny at RaceID, and we will do a short little interview here with Marcus to get to know him a bit better, and of course, this race, Coronamilen, a little bit better as well. But I think we should start, Marcus. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Fanny gave us a short introduction, but I think we all want to hear your own words. And who is Marcus, and how did you end up as a race organizer at the first time?
Hi, Marcus Andersson here. Good question. I would say that I always have been an active guy for as long as I could remember. And I think my first contact with endurance sports were back in 2009 when I compete in Vasaloppet, the big Swedish skiing race, cross country. Then it was my first year as cross country skis, so my goal was just to finish the race. But then I continued doing the Swedish Classic, where I compete the 4 biggest race in skiing, cycling, swimming, and running in 1 year in Sweden. At the same time, I was studying some outdoor management in North Sweden, where we organized lots of small and bigger outdoor events. And I would say that this was my first professional experience as an event organizer. And afterwards, I got the opportunity to move to Norway and work with different type of events. And then it were in Hemsedal, where I first came in contact with Aim Challenge, the multi-sport adventure race competition, and worked as a volunteer there already in 2011. And then some years on the sponsor side. But in 2015, I started working with Lisa, the former owner and the one who started Aim Challenge back in 2004. So for the last 5 years, I have been working as race leader, project manager there, beside doing some studies with economics and marketing. I were back to Norway a few years, working as event and marketing manager there on one of the biggest mountain lodge, where I also get a lot of time to develop and arrange different events, competitions, and also where I personally got a bigger interest in endurance race, and compete both in 2019 and this year in the world's toughest expedition race, Expedition Amundsen, where I ended as number 16 this year.
Wow.
So how does I actually ended up back in Sweden, owning my own event and marketing agency. Last autumn, I got the possibility to buy Aim Challenge, and I thought that was an exciting opportunity. I have dreamed about for years to have my own racing company, and thought this is the time. I just have to take a chance. So I quit my job as event marketing manager, moved back to Sweden with the goal to expand and develop Aim Challenge, and hopefully have some. Now it's 2 different competitions, and the goal was to maybe have 4 to the next year. And then you all know what happens. The COVID-19 pandemic starts, and there wasn't a single registration coming for AIM Challenge. So it was a really hard start having my own company. And that was the time when we start thinking creative.
Wow.
Wow. That's really exciting. I didn't know about this expedition Amundsen that you did. For everyone out there who's listening that don't know this expedition, what is it? Can you just tell us shortly?
Yeah, for sure. It's expedition race where you cross Hardangervidda, the biggest mountain plateau in Norway. It's a race where with touring skis and a sledge that weight minimum 40 kilo, both in the start and when you cross the finish line. So you should untracked marks over the mountains for 100 kilometers.
On skis, and I guess it's in the middle of the winter then.
It's in the middle of the winter, in the mid of February.
Wow.
The condition can be really hard. This year it was totally white out, quite heavy winds, and it was tough. And yeah, you need to have minimum 8 hours of rest, but that's the time where you should eat, melt your snow to water, and try to get some rest. So I think I had about 3 hours resting in a 36 hours competition.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
You're a really tough guy, Marcus.
Thanks.
Wow, cool and interesting story. Yeah, you have for sure a really unique background in outdoor and for endurance events. Yeah, but let's move on to the subject of the day, the Coronamilen that you were a little bit touching in your introduction here. Tell me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it in the middle of March when you came up with the idea of Coronamilen? And if I'm correct, you were inspired by our colleagues at Race One that also had a webinar according to virtual races. Or yeah, tell us, how did the idea came up?
Yeah, that's correct, Max. It was in the middle end of March. Sitting on a webinar like this, listen to how they have used virtual races in US and how the opportunity to convert existing races to virtual races, which I thought was a really smart idea, but also question if it was just an opportunity for already existing races. And in the end of the webinar, Marian at Race One talked about the digital solution they had, and I was start thinking about the possibilities this will open up, and it should be possible to try and start a virtual race with a very low economic risk. So the biggest risk I saw was that it would cost me some time, and time I had at the moment. So directly after the webinar, I started to sketch up a small mind map, and I think it could be about 20 minutes after the webinar, I was just sending a short text to my friend and former colleague Christian, that also had been a part of Coronamilen, and asked if this wasn't a good opportunity and just do something fun together. And we both had some extra time at the moment. After maybe, I would say 2 or 3 minutes, I just get the thumb up and said, come over tomorrow and we have a coffee and talk about this. So the same night I was emailing Race One to just ask more about the digital solution they offer, and thought that it could be a really good opportunity with virtual races when all the other races was cancelled. So for me, it felt important to try to catch the ball as quick as possible.
Cool. So you really moved quick forward, and the idea was born immediately after the webinar, I guess then.
Yeah, that's correct. Start thinking about it, and then after a while, yeah, we had an idea and then develop it. So getting a good concept in the end.
Yeah, how did you move forward from like having the idea, and how did you move forward to create an actual event, and what was your expectations, and what was your thoughts about before everything started?
And the day after, we discussed the different opportunities over a coffee. We start counting on it, putting up a budget. How much do you need to take for a race? How much could we take? To do a list. What does we have to do? Calling different partners that we thought was important to make this possible, which include you, and that we need a registration solution. We also start looking at prices for t-shirts and medals. We thought that we need to have something that makes it special for the race. And in the beginning, we asked for prices for about 50, 100, 250 participants for both t-shirts and medals. And we have a budget with a break-even about 45 participants to cover the costs for webpage and some marketing in the beginning. And we figure out that even with just families and friends, we could make this to break even. And we thought, yeah, let's give it a go. We have the time, so why don't try? And late some night, my friend asked me, Marcus, what do we do if we got 1,000 participants? And we both laughed a bit and said, yeah, we just have to solve it then. And we discussed what could be a goal that is achievable. And if we were allowed to dream a bit, we were thinking about 250 participants. But at this time, our biggest goal was to keep people inspired to train and racing through the pandemic, and that was about that we built a race from the beginning. So after taking the decide that we can spend that small money, and it wouldn't be a big price if we didn't get it back. So we start with building a web page, social media pages, registration site through race.se, and the race site at Race1. At the same time, we continue to try to find the right partners for the project. And yeah, as I said earlier, we felt it was important to catch the ball as quick as possible. And in less than a week, we had the concept live, and we started to spread it through, just our own channels, social media channels, and through friends. But to be honest, at this point, we just have an ID. We had a name and one sponsor, but no deal with either t-shirts or medals. That was things that we had to figure out.
Cool.
Further.
Yeah, that's a real cool story. And for you, I guess you all know, but when you had a vision then about 250 participants, after the race is done now, and you reach 9,500 participants. So you achieved your goal, you can say, with this 250 participants.
Yeah, we did, and we have got so many good comments from participants that making their first race or running their first 10 kilometers in their life. So we have
that's amazing.
Both the goals.
Yeah. So the event was then launched. As you said, the web page was live and social media, the registration and so on. But can you tell us what is a little bit more hard facts. What is Coronamilen? What do the participants get, and what's included in the registration fee? And yeah, a little bit more. What is it, basically?
Sure. Our thought was that we need to give the participants something that makes it worth to pay for. Why for something that you can do by yourself in your neighborhood? Just running 10K you can do every day. What could extra value be for the participants? We start to think about what participants get from a normal race, and we sort out a t-shirt, medal, and some goodie bag with things from the sponsor was things that giving an extra value to the participant, something to keep also after the race. But we were still thinking, what is it enough? Would people be attracted of it? And we start to brainstorm, and we discuss so many ideas, both good and really bad ones. But then the charity was mentioned, and we directly thought that this is actually a really good idea. That we could help someone, or we can do something for the society and not just for the racers, and we could include all the participants to feel that they are doing some good, not just for them, but for the society at all. And then we thought, yeah, now we actually have an attractive race where you can both, you pay for, and the surplus is going to charity. You get your medal, you get your t-shirt, and you get the race. And so from having that concept, we found a well-known organization in Sweden with a project focused on the pandemic. So we contact them and have a small discussion if there was anything special we should think about. And yeah, they had some input that was good. And yeah, I think the way with charity has been a big part of the success, that people feeling that they're doing something good for the bigger. At the same time, they're doing something good for their own health and getting a goodie bag after completing the race. A goodie bag that we had seen that for some people, it was the t-shirt and medal that was the most important, and for some people it's the charity that's the most important.
I see.
And
interesting.
How it went Coronamilen, for the non-Swedish, Milan is the same as 10 kilometers in Sweden. So yeah, from the beginning it was just a working name, but the more we work with it, it's better and better, and we thought that Coronamilen, it was quite descriptive what it was about, and we saw that it had been a name that people have react on, start read about, and be interested in the concept. But we were well aware that both the name and the logo could be a bit proactive. But now, if we look back, I think we have got 2, maybe 3 messages in total from people that think it's a distasteful name.
Really?
Interesting. I think it really well describes what it is. It couldn't be more clear, the name.
No,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. And if we move on then into the story about the race, so you launched it, and I guess now we're in the middle of April something, if I remember correctly. And yeah, the race was supposed to start in the beginning of May and then go on for 10 days. Of real serious? When did things, when did this go from like a small hobby project to a big race? Because I know you and your partner Christian did work full time with this for quite a long period. And what happened? What did you do, and how did you handle it? Can you tell us about, yeah, this movement from a small hobby project to this large running event?
I will do a try. Yeah, as you said, we launched the race in, if it was the last of March or, yeah, the last of March, because we didn't want to race it the 1st of April. So we have 1 month to build it up to get our 250 participants. And when we launched it directly, we got, I don't know if it were like 25 participants or something the first night. And then we thought it should be only friends and families. But when we start checking the name, it was like 10% that were named that we actually know. And yeah, and we start checking where people were living and ages and things, and there was a really good spread, and we attract people from all around in Sweden and all age groups. And this time we just have invited all our friends to both the Facebook page and the Facebook event, but the activities in social media was quite big already from the beginning. People like the concept and they try to involve their friends. At the first Facebook post, where we got where we just were saying that now the race is here, that can be arranged even with the pandemic. I think we got about 80 comments or something with people like, yeah, you should join this race, you should look at this, maybe this is something for you. So that was a really good start. But the first week, we were new with the concept. We got a lot of questions to answer, and we also saw that we had some possibilities to develop the web page and make it a bit clearer. What's the concept, how you can do the race, and try to do the experience for the participants even better. But even if we not thought that the race was that big, the registration continued to come, and we reached 250 participants in just 6 days. As I mentioned before, that was really our goal if we were allowed to dream. So through week 2, we see now we actually have a race. The participants starts coming in. So we called sponsors to try to make the event even more exclusive. And we're already in the beginning said that we're not going to give any prizes to the number 1, 2, and 3. We instead of going to randomly picking out some people that have been active and run the race to get some extra sponsor things. And this was also the time where we found our local partners for the t-shirt and medals. After comparing prices, flexibility, delivery times, we saw that it starts to be a lot of people, but still we didn't have a clue about how many participants it will end about, and that was really important for us to don't sit with 1,000 t-shirts if we just got 500 participants. And yeah, in the end of week 2, we had got about 1,000 participants, I think. And from checking every hour the starting list for names we maybe know or try to find out where people are coming from. We start to actually check because it starts to be so many participants and not possible to follow anymore. And until now, we have spent about 200 euro at advertising at Facebook, and this was now we start to see that this is not just a hobby project anymore, and that was what we signed up for. So we stopped with all marketing or all paid marketing, and thought we are satisfied, but we're still going to continue working with it until the race starts, which 2.5 weeks away. And yeah, in this time it was a lot of communication and try to spread the word. And after 3 weeks, we had reached about 1,600 participants. And here something happens. From having about 60 to 80 new participants a day, we start to get hundreds, 200 per day, and short after that, we 500 a day. And we reached to over 4,200 participants this week. So we more than double it up.
Wow.
And that was when you stopped paying for marketing?
Yeah, that was just organic. People spreading the word. And this was, about this time we were at Facebook, we were from reaching about 10,000 a day. We were reaching over 130,000 person a day just through organic organic content at Facebook.
That is so cool. From a Facebook page that didn't even exist 3 weeks earlier.
No, and I think at this time we had about 2,000 followers at Facebook, but people comments and sharing and really get involved and try to, we got so much help to just spread the word. And this was so much bigger already here than we ever have thought about. But we thought that, we have started and we can't just, it's too late to jump off, and we just have to follow the race through and just do it as good as possible. This was also the time where we figure out that we haven't really asked our partners for medals and t-shirts was what the capacity there were. And so we called them and said, hey, this is the situation. It's got so much bigger than we thought. And can you still deliver, or we have to find some partners? And they said, no, it shouldn't be any problem. We can continue to deliver. And we were asking like, now we have 5,000, but if it's reached 6,000, 7,000, can you still deliver? And they were, for sure, we're going to deliver. It's going to be a lot of work for us including, but still we're going to deliver. And somewhere here it was also still on week 3, so quite close to the race day, but still 10 days before. Companies starts taking contact to activate their employers. In Sweden we have, most companies have like a health, you can get some money for health activities. So they want to send all their employers to run the Coronamilen. So I think we had about 20-25 companies that took contact and said, hey, how should we do to activate our employers? And also, yeah, at this point, sponsors start taking contact with us instead of we trying to contact them and begging for a small sponsorship. So yeah, week 3 was the week where everything happened, and why it starts to be that big, we actually don't have a really good question about. You can see the curve, it's going like slightly up and then a big peak. But yeah, people heard about it, media start hearing about it. We were in, yeah, more or less all the local newspaper, radio, television. And in a few days, radio from all over Sweden start to take contact and want to hear about the project, and also if there were any local runners that they could take contact with to get the local attached to the interview. So yeah, that
We
was.
actually had a question from one of the participants that if you can think freely, what do you think was the key point for all the followers increasing? Like, or do you have any idea what the turning point could be for it to suddenly increase so much, especially on social media?
I think that most of it were like, it starts to spread a bit and we were closer to the race, people were starts getting involved and triggered to start the race. People start to share more pictures about it, that they were out training for it. So I think in total there was a lot of activities around it, and that create more interest, and that people could yeah, start asking, what is this, how can I be a part of it? And people were proud about being a part of it, where they thought, yeah, they're doing something good, also for the society.
I see. It's kind of like a snowball effect also of people just telling each other and then happy to share the content.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, some part of yeah, we got some strange calls also in this time, like a marketing agency that are responsible for all communication for, yeah, all buses and trains in South Sweden. So they were like, could you just go out, make some small movies about you running around, and you don't have to edit it, we will fix that and we will push it out in all our train, buses, bus stops, train stations, and that's in a region with, yeah, a bit over 1 million person. So yeah, it starts to be big, and I think we got a lot for free there. But still, I think, yeah, an important thing is that we gave the participant an extra value, that they thought this is a really good thing I'm including in.
I see.
Yeah, that's really cool, Marcus. Really, really amazing. And if I remember correctly, you were, when the race started in the beginning of May, you had like 6,000 registered participants or something. And then you decided to keep the registration open for another week for new participants to come. And then you, on the race week, then when people were doing the race, you still attract over 3,000 new participants as well, and reached 9,500 was the what it ended up to. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We've thought that when it starts to be that many participants, it's also start to be a lot of money that were going to charity, and it felt at that point very stupid to just break it and say, sorry, we can't do it anymore. Instead, we open it up, and yeah, at the time people start running, it also spread even more. People start sharing their picture, and yeah, we got more than 3,000 more participants during the race week.
And regarding the charity thing, how much did that ended up? How much could you give away to charity? Do you have the number?
Yeah, it was a bit more than 1.1 million Swedish crowns. So yeah, what would that be? 120,000 euro, more or less, I think.
Wow, yeah. That is a lot of money from a small hobby project.
Yeah, definitely. For us, it was, yeah, it's so fun to see that it's a big, huge mass of people that have doing their small bit of it, and together we just collect it, and yeah, that was amazing.
Cool. Yeah, you're now actually in the middle of the second Coronamilen, the second edition, and we have above 2,000 participants now, I think, which means in total you have raised this spring and summer for around 12,000 participants. Yeah, and that's with a concept that didn't even exist 4 months ago. That's quite impressive. And you have also launched the concept in Norway now as well. Can you, what will be the next step for Coronamilen? How will it continue growing after the COVID-19 pandemic, and yeah, what do you see in the future for it?
From the beginning, we were said that we hopefully just would be one Coronamilen, and after that it should be end of the pandemic. But now we see that we have a concept that works really good. We have got experience of organizing virtual races, and now, yeah, as you said, we have found a local race organizer in Norway that launched it for just a few days ago. And now we see the possibility that, yeah, that we could expand even more. So we have started to, yeah, look for other local organizers that should be interested in taking this concept to adjust it to the local environment, finding the local charity, and make the local twist at it at the same time as we can support through the whole process. We have the registration service through you. We have the digital solution with the app through Race One. So I think we have done a good package that we could export to even more countries.
Cool. But you, of course, you are not the only person in the world that can organize a virtual race and make them a success, even if you have done a great job. What do you think is the most important thing if someone else out there is thinking of doing a virtual challenge or a virtual race, either a completely new project or turning an already existing event into virtual? What is like your best tips and tricks?
Definitely, it's not just me, or as you see, there is there is so many virtual races now, and I think that it's not that having knowledge from a big race organization or a big wallet that's the most important. It's like you need to have the passion and find your unique selling point. What could your race do that the other race doesn't make? How can your race be exclusive and engaging people? And how can you create a value that feeling good to pay for, instead of just taking that running in your neighborhoods? And probably a good network and good people around you is at least at the same level as early race management skills. So for sure, this is something that most of us could do if you have the passion for it and you have some extra time.
Do you think virtual races have a future after the corona pandemic? Do you think it can live alongside like normal races? And how could that look like?
Yeah, I think so. I think with our race, we have attracted new customers, new participants that normally never should register for a normal race. Now they can run in their neighborhood. They can do it when they have time. They don't have to travel. They don't have to pay for hotel nights. You can compromise a race from taking a whole weekend to an hour. So I think both virtual races itself could be a good idea for the future, but I think the next big is to try to arrange both a physical race and decide a virtual race where it can attract a much bigger market for your race. Exactly how it should be done, that's a good question, but I think there's a big possibilities.
Cool, that's really interesting thoughts. I agree with you that I think it will be a future for virtual races, but as you say, it's hard to know exactly how. Maybe some of our listeners today have an idea. Who knows? But thank you a lot, Marcus. This was the questions and the story I have prepared that I wanted to get answers on. I know we have a question from the audience, but if some other out there have more questions, please ask them now. But first, the question we already have. Yeah, what do you think was the biggest loss or mistake that were made during the process, and how did you get over it?
Good question. I would say that thinking about 9,500 participants as a hobby project from the beginning was a real mistake. And with that logistics, I don't think you can imagine how many t-shirts 10,000 shirts are, especially when you just have a small apartment. I don't think we realized how big it actually was before we got delivered outside of the door. So yeah, we had 2 apartments that was totally full with medals and t-shirts and everything, and it was chaotic. And we thought that we were just going to could pack the goodie bags by ourselves, but fast we realized that we had to include friends and families. And after a bit, we also contacted sports club to say, hey, can you help us? We will pay our team an amount, and you can help us packing all the goodie bags. So we got the sports team that would help us, and then we did all the last 5,000 goodie bags in a few hours instead of doing 1,000 a day. So but it was not just the logistics. We also saw problem with not our partners, or the one that were going to deliver t-shirts and medals for us, but the subcontractors to them wasn't that prepared. So we emptied more or less the whole Europe for t-shirts. We got deliveries from Norway, Finland, Germany, Italy. Yeah, they try to just find as many t-shirts as possible, as quick as possible. So for this, it made that it took nearly 4 weeks after we ended the race until the last goodie bags were sent out. And for this, we definitely got some comments from participants that were asking, when does my goodie bags come? And here we thought it were good communication, and to be honest and say sorry, we are so many participants, and it had been really hard to got all t-shirts, all medals delivered, and but we're doing our best. So good communication, and to be honest, I think was the solution there.
Great. That's some good tips. We actually got in a few more questions. First, a quick one, like how much did people actually pay to participate in the race?
For the first race, where we were including both medal, t-shirt, and a goodie bag, they paid 299 Swedish crowns, so about 30 euro. And now for the second one, we actually exclude the t-shirt, so we lowered the price to 249, but then you can pay 100 extra for the t-shirt if you want it.
That's smart. And also another question we got in, do you think it's better to keep the race relatively local just because of shipping costs and so on?
I think that's better, and I think even if we had participants from, I think it were 15 or 16 different countries, some of them Swedes that have moved abroad, but also people that use Google Translate to actually know what the race were. They also had got their goodie bags. So we had the possibility to deliver to other countries also, but I think the effect would be bigger to make it local, where you can find a local charity organization, you can use the right language, you can use the culture in a better way if you have the local knowledge.
Okay, that's an interesting aspect as well.
I think we got another one as well, Fanny. Did you see that one?
Yeah. So how big of a part do you think the charity aspect plays, that you like to donate the like part of the fee to the charity, and like how did it play into the success of the race?
I think that's a quite big part of it, that people felt that they were doing something good, and we got some question about it, and I think that not being that guy that tried to do some big money on a prize, instead we could help so many other people through the prize. That I think that was a big thing of how it could be that big.
You see.
I agree, totally agree. Do we have any other questions, or?
I think that was it for now. Unless you have anything to add, Marcus, that you want to tell everyone that's attending.
No, I think I have been talking about most of it, but if you, after this webinar have some question, just email me and I will try to help you through your local projects or your next race. And so happy that, yeah, that you joined, that we have the possibility to hopefully inspire more people to doing fun races in the future.
Totally agree with you, Marcus, and thank you for joining us. And everyone, this webinar has been recorded, and you will have it sent to you afterwards, and you will also add our contact details and Marcus' contact details into that email, so you will be able to reach out to us if you have further questions or want to talk to us in some other projects. Yeah, but again, thank you so much, Marcus, for joining us. And thank you everyone that's been part of this webinar. I hope you liked it and that we will hear from you soon.
Yeah, we got a last minute question. I don't know if you have time to, and just asking if it was clear from the beginning that you were donating money to charity, like the participants were aware before they applied for the race that it would go to charity.
Yes, that was clear already from the beginning, but
yeah,
wasn't able to say how much it were because we have no clue about how big it should be. So from the beginning, it was just, yeah, the surplus will go to Radiohjälpen, as the Swedish charity organization is called. But now for the second race, where we saw it was easier to do a good budget, and then with minimum 120 crowns will go to the charity organization, but hopefully a bit more.
Okay, cool. That's great. And we had one where actually someone asked, what role did Race Sweden play in this? So maybe Max can answer that.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, we were partnered with Marcus in and the registration process, dealing with the registration, payments, start list, keeping all the storage for the participants, the database, dealing with the money, and yeah, delivering the start list to the to Race One, who handled the timekeeping solution during the race. So we were part of the administrative work before the race happened, and some marketing stuff as well before the race happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was all the questions we had, and now it's time to end the webinar. So we want to thank everyone for attending, and we will send you a little follow-up here also with some information and Marcus's contact information and the website to Coronamilen, so you can check it out as well. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and we wish you a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.